Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outdoor Collective. That's right, it's just me, Rick, here by myself. Our boy Kyle had scheduling issues this week. I told him if he could handle it by himself for a week, I sure as heck can try to do that as well. And so here we are. I'm here in the cabin, sporting my Kenai Backcountry Adventure shirt that I bought it off their Instagram account. To remember my trip to Alaska. Got to hang out in their shop in Seward for about 2 hours, hanging, talking backcountry, backpacking, and bear watching and kayaking and all kinds of cool stuff with them. And so I had to get one of their shirts and sporting today for the podcast. And glad you're here. Glad you came to be part of it. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Again, like we say all the time, it's your likes, it's your subscribes, it's your recommendations, it's your whatevers. You sharing it with your friends that makes this collective work. So thank you so much for joining in, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on a podcast on Google, a podcast on Spotify, a podcast on Apple, however you do it. Thanks for being here. It's just great. I love hanging out with you guys. I hope you do too. And I'll tell you what, this is, I didn't think it was going to be hard. This is a little bit harder doing it by yourself. It's way different sitting here talking, staring at yourself. Even if somebody talks for a living in front of people, this is way different. And even a little bit more nervous. I had to sit here in front of the screen for a second and psych myself up because I'm not looking at anybody except my big old chubby cheeks. So that's where we're at. That's where we are tonight. I'm excited because I was thinking about what could we talk about tonight, and actually I want to. When Kyle said, "Hey man, I need to not be here," I think, you know what a great chance to kind of tell a story or a couple of stories about Kyle and the outdoors, him and I, and some of my favorite stories, but also kind of maybe even learn some lessons from it as we did. So we're going to just jump right in and kind of go with it. As this time of year comes along. A lot of outdoor people, a lot of outdoors men look to hunting and what that's all about, and collecting, whether it's a deer or a turkey or a squirrel or whatever. It's just one of those things that I got a bunch of friends that are out in tree stands right now, or at least they're getting out of the tree stands, I guess, as it's turning too dark to see. I talked to a buddy at the football game this weekend or last weekend as it started raining and sleeting and snowing on us. That was smart enough that he brought his full bibs and camo jacket, and was probably the most dry, warmest guy there. He said, "Hey, I figured out if I was going to spend a lot of time in the tree every year, I need to be comfortable while I was up there." And I thought, wow, what a smart guy. Hey, you might not have the home team colors on, but you're looking pretty smart. You're looking pretty dry in the middle of that icy, rainy, snowy football game. But as we start thinking about hunting and this time of year, and I was thinking about it, it sent me back to the first time Kyle and I went hunting together. We've only been a couple times because of schedule, simply because of living as far away from each other as we do. But when we were younger, in our young 20s, Kyle and I got a chance to go down to it would have been his in-laws' family's farm down near Bloomington. And we got a chance to go squirrel hunting, and we were excited about it. We planned it for 3 or 4 weeks and planned on getting down there, and we were going to be down there for the day. Got up, I left work on Friday and went and stayed overnight at his house so we could get down there early. And everything was going right until we show up on the property, and then unplanned, it wasn't in the forecast. It just started a miserable sprinkle. Not like it was like drenching us, not like it was a mist, but it was there was definitely drips, there was definitely sprinkles. We had to go into the farmhouse. We both got a raincoat, borrowed a raincoat, and and headed out into these woods looking for squirrel. We're going squirrel hunting, and we both set up really nice spots. We waited, 1 hour. We waited 2 hours. Nothing happened. We tried moving 2 or 3 times. We'd sit down and wait, and we got to the point where mostly we were just hiking, and talking and looking in this, like I said, just a steady little drizzle. And it was simply it was just a miserable day. The squirrels weren't coming out because of the rain. If they were out, we definitely, with our big old, raincoats on us, didn't sound like anything natural. And the water hitting us definitely gave away that there was some big oofs walking around in the woods. But I remember just kind of walking around and talking and just kind of, just enjoying ourselves and being in the outdoors. And we kind of just stopped one place, and we were, just kind of looking at trees, just kind of quietly just standing there looking back to back, and, kind of round and round. And Kyle nudged me, and he said, and kind of pointed up into a tree. And sure enough, there was a squirrel that had ventured kind of out of his nest, and was just kind of probably about, I don't know, it was probably 25 feet up in the tree, and probably a good, probably a good 15, the tree was good 15, 20 yards away from us. I mean, it was a pretty far way off. And I remember it like it was yesterday. Kyle had his, had a small handgun. It was I think it was a Glock in his, on his side, and he grabbed it, pulled it out, pointed it, aimed it at the squirrel, and shot 3 times. Well, the squirrel on each shot went back and forth, trying. I don't know if he was trying to dodge, and I saw the wood from the limb that the squirrel was on, like, blowing up as the as the shell went through it. And all of a sudden, the squirrel just took off and started running out all the way through this, down this long limb, out across in front of us. And I remember Kyle going, "Shoot him, Rick!" And I had a little 20 gauge on him, pulled it up, and shot him and got him. And as the squirrel fell down, I was like, "Dude, why did you use your handgun and to do that?" He said, "Well, I just wanted to scare him, so you had a shot at it." And I remember thinking, dude, this guy's a pretty good friend. He saw the only squirrel we had seen in 3 or 4 hours, and lets me have a whack at it. So we harvested the squirrel that day, took it in and ate it, and it was a fun little meal to have together. But it was something, like you said, that was probably. Oh, it was easy 20 years ago, but there we were, being our normal goofy selves, and Kyle showing up as the good friend he is, and giving me a shot at the only squirrel we had only seen. He said, "Yeah, I wasn't even aiming. I was just trying to get it to run a little farther, closer to us, and a little more out in the open." I thought, well, you definitely did that, and gave us the. Gave me a shot to get it. So yeah, so like I said, it's just a silly, funny story, but at the same time, a good outdoor story to kind of get us started. Tonight's going to be kind of quick and kind of easy. I might talk for a living a lot, but there's a time and a place where, just hanging out for 20 minutes even is fun. And try not to be too boring. So to make sure I get it in, let's go ahead and we'll go to a commercial break, and I'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back. I know you're thinking, wait a minute, Rick, this might be the quickest, shortest podcast ever. And Rick, I know you. Some of you guys do know me very well. And I talk a lot. But I don't know. I'm missing my buddy Kyle tonight. I'm feeling quick and easy. But I did want to tell you, kind of as we're going into this time of the year, we talked kind of a little bit about hunting, and that brought that up. But also, as we get to this time of the year, we start getting snow, we start getting ice, whether it's on the trail, whether it's overnight while we're camping, whether we purposely say, hey, you know what, it's supposed to snow and we want to be out in the snow camping. Whatever we do, we go out, and so it's that time of the year. So I wanted to kind of talk to you about the first time. I know that the first time Kyle went snow camping. And it kind of, I want to kind of talk about it, because, one, it's a little funny, and, we like having a good time, especially at Kyle's, whatever because of Kyle. But at the same time, we've all been there, and the point is, you know what? There's a lot of times where you can't just learn stuff by hearing it on a podcast or reading it on the internet. You just got to go do it. And so that's kind of what the whole idea of this story is. It was I want to say it was around Christmas break. Kyle and I and a couple other guys headed out to East Fork Lake here, which is just east of Cincinnati. It's got a nice lake there. And I think it's a pretty good 2-day trip if you're going all the way around it. We weren't planning on going around it. We were going to hike out in the snow, through the snow, find a nice place to spend the night, hang out, goof around for the day, hike back just at nighttime, and make it a good one nighter out in the snow and with their friends. And I'll tell you what, there was some crazy things that happened that we wouldn't you wouldn't have thought about. You wouldn't, and even if you took time to read, you might not hear about it. So just kind of wanted to talk through a couple things and tell you kind of what happened. I mean, it started off, we met our friends. Everything was good. We had a map. We knew which way we were going to go. We planned on what to be and where it was. And sure enough, we take off and things are going great. We're headed out. We're hiking. We're enjoying ourselves. And sure as I'm sitting here, we ran into a little issue, and that issue was the trail that we were hiking on. Not only was a hiking trail, but it was also a horse trail. And we quickly found out that when you're hiking on a horse trail, after it had rained and snowed, and then maybe melted a little bit, and then froze back up, there are a lot of obstacles that really slow you down and really turn your hike into a drudge. I mean, just like a death march almost. I mean, we had heavier packs because we had warm stuff in it, but this hike quickly became something that, looking back on, was probably like just one of the worst experiences I'd ever had on a trail. And it was simply because on this horse trail that we were hiking, like I said, the couple days before we had got there, it had rained, and then it snowed and froze, and then it thawed out and got real muddy, and then it froze again, and then it rained, and then it snowed on top of the ice. And as we're hiking down the trail, we see the trail fine, and we're kind of hiking down, going through it. And if you know Kyle doesn't do back of the pack or even second of the pack of hikers very well. And so it wasn't long until he was leading. He was heading us down this trail. And sure enough, as he's going, all of a sudden, he just falls, like just straight down into the trail. I mean, it was over his boot. It was probably halfway up his shin, where he had just gotten to a piece of ice that was thin ice, and under that ice was nothing but just mucky muck mud. And from then on, every step was a chore, and it wasn't 100 yards. It wasn't 300 or 400 yards. It wasn't even a mile. It was a couple miles of just, kind of not too hilly terrain, but just this flat, like just in the mud, out of the mud. And even us guys that at the time, weighed a little bit less than Kyle, you know what? Hey, even when we tried to lead before he got to there, it was still, we were breaking through the ice. Every step was just a challenge. And like I said, you got a full pack on, you got your extra big sleeping bag, you got your warmest tent, you got extra warm clothes, and it just is a bear. And on top of that, Kyle decides that, you know what, he's going to try. He looked online, and he saw this way to make a camp stove out of a metal ammo box. So he had it full of kindling, and he's carrying it with his hand, and getting it. And just through the snow. I remember how many times he fell in and kind of leaned over and had to push up off the snow. And we're behind him. Yeah, we know where the holes are because he's making them, but it doesn't matter because we gotta go. Even trying to go around them, we're making our own holes. And so I think the lesson that I definitely got from that is know where you're hiking, understand the trails. It might not be some place that you've hiked before, which that makes it all a great adventure. But know what kind of trail you're on and understand the environment you're in. If you're going to be on a horse trail after a rainy time, expect that there's going to be huge hoof prints. Expect that the ground's going to be way tore up. Expect that if it's still wet, it becomes just a mud hole, and you're trudging through a mud hole, trying to get to the other side. And for us, there was no off trail one way or the other because of how tight the trees were and where things were. It was just literally just stay on the trail, do the best you can, back and forth, trying to hopscotch down this trail, trying to find the right place. And sure enough, three out of every 5 steps, you're breaking through the ice trying to get there. And so, hey, as you head out in these colder temperatures, as you head out to do snow hikes, make sure you know what kind of trail you're on. Especially if you're in a state park, a lot of those hiking trails join up with horse trails for a mile or a couple miles or even 150 yards. That's still going to be a pain for you if you're going through the mud and the muck. And it would have been a good story if that was just all that kind of crazy happened. But that's not. as we got through the mud and as we kind of got back onto a trail and went down into a ravine and back up and around and kind of had a nice little a creek crossing that it was pretty easy and pretty simple, and a chance to it was the first time Kyle got a chance to kind of use his pump filter, and we got a chance to kind of just hang out and have a good time. That night we found there at East Fork they have like 3-sided like lean-tos that are made out of plywood that you can set a tent or 3 up inside of. Kind of gets you out of the wind a little bit. It made it a little nicer than camping around on the ground, and so there was enough of us to have 2 tents, and so we set up our tents, and we're inside there. We had a nice. It was time to have supper, and so we start trying to build a fire, and we got a fire built. We didn't have a lot of wood, so Kyle says, "Hey, you know what? I'll go chop some wood and find some wood for us," and so he kind of heads off into the darkness, carrying my grandpa's hatches, something that I had gotten from my grandpa that I love and I carry to this day when I go out into the woods. And he takes that and he heads off into the woods, and sure enough, not too long later, we hear him just chopping and chopping and chopping and going at it. And so there he is, just out there chopping. And I can remember getting food ready, and as we're going, kind of maybe even keeping the fire going with the little bit of stuff that we have there that is dry. All of a sudden, I hear him go, "Oh crap!" And I was like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "Never mind, not nothing." And kind of tries to blow it off, and I go, "Okay." I kind of give him a minute, and think I haven't heard him chopping anymore, and it's been a few minutes, so let me go check on him, put my headlamp on, and I walk down, and I see him bent over, just kind of just kind of looking all over the ground, looking around, trying to figure out where he's what he's looking for. So he's obviously looking for something, and I said, "Dude, what's going on? Where are you at?" And he's like, "Man, I'm so sorry." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Man, I got this pile of wood over here," and he showed me a decent little pile of wood. He's like, but this happened, and he holds up the handle to my grandpa's axe without the axe head on it. He said, "I was just hitting it, and I came down to hit it, and when it came down, the head just flew out over here." I was like, I remember kind of just thinking like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe it happened." And it didn't just go like into a nice pile of grass or a nice area it went right into like this wooded brush area. And I was like, "Dude, it is what it is. I mean, we, you know, if we find a night, great. If not, we'll try again tomorrow. Maybe we'll have it. Maybe we won't. And he's like, and I was like, well, here, let me help you carry some of the wood up. So, sure enough, we went up and carried the wood up, and I can remember feeling like, man, that thing's probably lost. That's kind of a sad time. And we get up there and have our supper, and we kind of burned through the wood that he had cut, and somebody else had a hatchet there, and he goes, well, let me go get some wood. And the joke was made, hey, don't lose the head on that one. And of course, and that's the kind of guys we are. And he's like, yeah. And sure enough, he was back down there hacking, getting some more wood as we kind of trying to stay warm there in the snow for a while and hang out. And you know what? About a half an hour later, he came back up carrying some wood and smiling, really excited. And as he gets to the fire, he holds up in his hand. He had found the axe head and it brought it back. And that's why to this day it's still on my pack. And except for some reason, he's never taken it out and used it again. That was the last time he ever used Grandpa's axe. But that happened there on that trip. And then what a great story. If it would have ended there, but sure enough, it didn't end there. The next morning for breakfast, he thought it'd be a great idea to help kind of warm us up. It had definitely dropped way down. It was I want to say in the teens, if not into single digits. It was definitely cold as we got out of the camp. And oh, by the way, I'll let him tell the story about how he says. It was my tent's fault, but he just decided he didn't want to sleep in the tent with me. And he tried to stay outside inside that little thing and just more or less froze to death all night when I was halfway decently warm inside my tent. But there he remember I told you he brought that ammo stove that he had made because he saw it online, and he thought a great way to kind of warm up and stay in his sleeping bag was to kind of put this stove beside him. And build this fire beside him inside this press board, like I said, lean-to, kind of 3-sided shack with a roof on it. He thought it'd be a great idea. So, you know what? Hey, Kyle, go ahead. We like good ideas. We'll see. It'll probably keep us warm. And sure enough, it didn't take long before that fire was going. And sure enough, it gave off a good amount of heat. He had his shoes sitting next to it warming up, or his boots sitting next to it warming his boots. He had his gloves next to it. He was in heaven, and he was even getting ready to start cooking off of it. And things are just going good for us. The rest of us are out kind of around camp and sitting there talking to him and just having a good time. And about a half an hour of having this this ammo can fire stove kind of thing, all of a sudden, again, we hear him go, oh crap. And I'd look over just in time to see the ammo can fall through the floor because it had burnt the plywood out underneath it. And actually the plywood, as it fell through, the plywood around it was on fire. But because of the size and shape of it, when it fell into the hole, there was no place to grab it. It was just sitting out in a hole on fire, with the hole on fire, out in the middle of this woods. And we're trying to figure out how we're going to get this out of here. And I can remember seeing Kyle's eyes get about this big, as you can see the hamsters just running in his head as he's trying to figure out what he's doing. He was smart enough to grab his gloves, and he was able to kind of get both hands on the side of it and be able to pick it up and take it outside. And we kind of, as he did that, we kind of were able to stomp out the fire that was on the floor. And sure enough, there was all kinds of excitement around the camp for a good 45 seconds as that was going on. But after that, it was sitting out on the ground on the dirt. We were able to cook on top of it. It was a pretty cool thing, other than it was just really, really heavy. If you ever see the plans to make a stove using an ammo box, an Army surplus ammo box, just keep on surfing. There's no reason to even look at it. We've tried it. It wasn't worth it. A little postscript on that story is we went back a couple 3 years later to that same lean-to kind of thing, and the Rangers or whoever had fixed it by simply putting another piece of plywood, just a square big enough to follow the hole, just kind of screwed it down, and it's a good reminder that, hey, Kyle was here. Kind of thing. Now, the reason I tell you the stories is simply because, one, they're funny. There was a good time. I love telling stories about being out in the woods. But second of all, what I want to encourage you with, I see a lot, and I'm on, and Kyle, I know Kyle's on several different hiking pages, several different hiking groups, and forums and different things like that. And I would bet daily there are questions about that get thrown out there about, hey, should I do this, or where should I go, or what should I wear, or how should I do this, or what does this look like, or how, all these kind of things. And I just want to encourage us, all of us, that there's a lot of times where it's good to kind of be informed, but part of the adventure, and definitely a lot of learning how to handle yourself, how to take care of things, how to survive in the wilderness, comes from just having things happen and living through them and figuring out, hey, on the backside of it, that makes complete sense. And here's learn. I would have never have thought that a hot piece of metal, yeah, I thought it might like make it brown or make the wood a little black or whatever. Never in a million years would I thought that thing would have burnt through 3/4 inch plywood. It just never even crossed my mind. Second, and the other thing is, the idea of making sure, having your tools in usable order. You know what? I had used Grandpa's hatchet lots and lots of times, and never thought to check it every so often to make sure it didn't have a split in the handle or whatever it was. And so my encouragement to all of us tonight is, as we're kind of just hanging out, and is, hey, get out there and do it. That's how you learn. Hey, you know what? You want to try to figure out what the best hiking boots are? Buy a pair of hiking boots and wear them out. And then buy a different pair and wear them out and see which ones you like the best. You want to figure out what stove works the best, or what water filter works the best. Figure out ways to try different ones. Go with different people who have different ones and find it out. Make the adventure part of the adventure. Make the unknown part of the adventure, because that's a lot of what it's all about. And I tell people all the time, hey, I'd be really happy hiking 1 mile, having a great camp, and having some kind of crazy thing happen that I learn a lesson, and hiking 1 mile out and call it a weekend, because it's about being outside, it's about being with people, and it's about having some kind of adventure. And so let me encourage you that tonight. Like, hey, this next adventure, stretch yourself, do something you don't know exactly how to do. Find ways to go somewhere you haven't gone, or try a new piece of gear that you haven't tried, simply because if it messes up, you have a great story. If it works, great. Whatever, there's going to be something that happens that makes the adventure the adventure. Like I said, that's what we're about. That's what it's all about. I know this is quick. I know this is a short little podcast, but we just want to tell you, we're so glad you guys choose every week to come hang out with us. And like Kyle always says, the outdoor is nearly perfect. The only thing missing is you. We'll see you guys next week.